Hello, good people of Cincinnati Bengaldom. My name's Paul. This is Bengals UK. This is our final regular season online tailgate. Thank you so much for watching throughout the season. But there's, it's not all bad news, is it? Let's face it, because we're going to have another one next week because we're in the playoffs.
We're in the playoffs. We're in the playoffs.
We are indeed. Joining me today is Duncan Price. Dastardly Duncan. DD, how you doing?
Good, thank you very much, Paul.
Good.
Glad to have a Bengals game without the pressure on for a change.
Oh, isn't it just? Yes. And Jamie Rowe is here. Bengals run the North. Indeed, we do. Jamie, hoo day.
Hoo day, howdy. Do you want to start with some inactives? Because it's a weird week.
Well, I was going to say we might as well start now because we might be done by the end of the show.
Maybe do actives instead.
Yes.
Active.
All right, Jamie, run us through. We're obviously playing the Cleveland Browns. We know that Joey B's not playing. We know that DJ Reed is not playing. I don't know what's going on. We're fielding a team of misfits, of practice squad players. We're keeping everyone as safe as we can. Jamie, who have we got playing today?
Well, not Logan Wilson, not T. Higgins, not Cam Sample. They're all inactive. Burrow's obviously inactive. DJ Reader's inactive, and your final inactive is Evan McPherson. So we're going to get a debut for Elliot Fry today. We get to see what he provides us for this 1 week of fun. I saw him play for the Chiefs earlier in the year. He's not great, but he gets to have a run out and become one of those one-game Bengals legends like Zoltan Mesko and others like that.
Hold on. Whoa. Zoltan Mesko.
Yes, the punter, not the Hungarian Nazi.
Right, okay. Is there a Hungarian Nazi called Zoltan Mesko?
Yes, it's Wikipedia does the disambiguation things. This article is about the former NFL punter and not the war criminal. So,
okay.
I mean, we assume they're not the same, but
I think there's a 40-year age difference and probably quite a massive death toll difference. But there you go. We're starting this on a particularly offbeat note.
It's a good solid start to this tailgate. It has to be said. There he is. There's your man, Zoltan.
Oh, look at him! Look at him. He played one playoff game, I believe, for us. After he might have had a few. It was after the Steelers whacked Cuba on his mush. We had a couple.
Right, okay.
We had a couple of weeks with a guy who was really bad, and I can't remember his name. If you want to stick it in the comments, do. But yeah, Zoltan Mesko came in for one game and was fine, and then we never saw him again.
Poor old Zoltan.
Yes.
Poor old Zoltan. Jamie, yes. So inactives. Elliot Fry is playing. Who else is playing? Or who else is inactive, shall we say?
So yeah, no Cam Sample, which I think we kind of knew. No Logan Wilson. I assume that he's still kind of a little bit banged up from his injury the other week. I mean, the whole thing about Evan McPherson not playing is that he's apparently carrying a groin strain from that he's had for a few weeks. He was able to get through it last week. Some of the kickoffs were a bit dodgy, but otherwise he was fine. And yeah, no T. Higgins, so we get to see
Auden Tate,
someone.
Maybe?
No, one of the Trents, two of the Trents, both Trents.
Trents. Mike Thomas, perhaps. And I believe that Jamar Chase is active.
Yeah, Jamar Chase is active. I wonder if there's some kind of record that he's going for, and then we'll whip him out.
Well, he is. Apparently, he's 12 yards away
from
breaking
for the season record. So it could be you could see one chucked up to him just to get that, and then take him off. But I mean, part of me thinks, well, it's the 17th game, so it's a bit like Devonta Smith had it last night for the Eagles. He overtook Deshaun Jackson for the rookie receiving amount. I think it was only 902. not
and
particularly.
then they sat him as soon as that happened.
Yeah, but it was in the 17th game, so I mean, it's his name will be in the record books, but he didn't do it. He took one more game than Deshaun did, so I wonder.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of these. I mean, the games went up sometime in the 90s as well, and at that point, there presumably were the same discussions about whether the records still mean the same thing. You know, this will quickly move on as we get used to having a 17-game season. An interesting record that got broken last night was that a ton of people tied a record that was set by Emmanuel Sanders and several other players for most games played in an NFL season. Because up to now 17 was the record, and that was only done by players that had played for one team and then got traded after the bye week to another team. So yeah, that's a record that's gone down. We have some practice squad elevations as well. So today you get to see the likes of Keaton Sutherland, Traven Henderson. I love Traven Henderson. You remember him from preseason. Trent of the week, Trent Taylor, Mike Daniels finally gets a chance. Jake Browning and Noah Spence non-taken.
So we could be seeing an offensive line, Trey Hill at centre, perhaps. Is Trey Hopkins playing? I can't remember if he is or not. I'm not sure.
It
really is a bit suck it and see today, isn't it? We're not quite sure what's going on.
He might be there. I mean, I don't think he'll be starting unless he is.
Deontay Smith, perhaps.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see some Deontay, I think.
Which is good. So, I quite like Deontay Smith.
And I guess we're going to see a lot of running as well, because you know, as much as you like Brandon Allen, he's not going to bring the same things to the table that Joe Burrow does, and. So, I mean, Mixon is active. No, Mixon's on COVID list, isn't he?
No,
so
right.
I'm sure the team
lots of Chris Evans. I'm hoping to see some Travion today as well. That'd be good.
Yeah. So lots of Chris Evans, lots of P. Ryan. You know, it's gonna be a bit kind of. We get to see some people we've all forgotten.
Absolutely. Now, this online tailgate, of course, is open to everyone. You'll find the links in our on our Twitter feed. And someone who's knocking on the door, early doors. It's an early door knock from John, living La Vida Luca. John, hello. Happy New Year.
How you doing, chaps? You all right?
Yeah, good. How are you? How was your Christmas? Is it too late to ask that? Have we gone beyond the how was your Christmas?
I think you're allowed, because I think the Chiefs game last week just took our mind off all that sort of stuff that we normally do. And they say, yeah, it was all good, thanks. How about you?
Yes, all quiet, all safe, all okay so far. So that's good. How are you feeling about this team at the moment, John? Obviously, last week was just an incredible result, performance, etc., etc.
Yeah, I mean, look, very excited. It's all a bit novel, isn't it? To be sort of up there, to have the quality players. You look at all the sort of lists of the stats, and every stat list you see is here, top 5, top 10 player, which is great. There's a sense of foreboding. You're not going to get rid of that. I think this year's a little bit soon, and I think there's going to come a sort of bit of disappointment, but it's great while it's happening. And, you know, just being up there, living with the elite, it's good.
What did you think about last week? Were you hopeful? I mean, you speak about this sense of foreboding. Is it just because of the playoff run? People are tuning into this for the first time. I apologize, but also, you know, we the Bengals qualified for the playoffs 5 times in a row in the early to mid 2010s, especially 2015, where we had a real shot at going a long way. And we were 1 and done in the playoffs for 5 years straight. Is that the sense of foreboding that you speak of?
I think so. I think it's that broad sort of. I mean, look, I'm not used to supporting a successful sporting enterprise. So anything that sort of has some sort of, you know, quality players, it all feels a bit too good to be true. So I think there's a personal element to that. But there's something about this team which has so much potential, but so much potential to sort of rip your heart out as well that you can't, unless you're sort of getting to the Super Bowl, 2-3 years in a row or whatever. You don't think we're ever going to lose that.
Yeah, absolutely. What about? It's not even worth talking about today much, is it? Because as Jamie just outlined, who knows who's going to be playing? Some fans might even be playing. I don't know. Who do you fancy in the playoffs? Do you care? Is it important that we try and lock up as high a seeding as possible today?
I mean, personally, I don't think the seeding matters anymore. After the last night, if there'd have been a run at it would have. If the Titans had been losing today and the Chiefs had lost last night, it might have felt like a bit of an opportunity missed. But frankly, we're good enough to beat anyone, and it doesn't matter if we're playing at home or away. Arguably, you want us to play away anyway because our record's better. So I'm not too fussed.
And preferences, Saturday, Sunday. There could be a Monday night game involved next week. Who knows?
I mean, for me, just personally on the life side of things, Saturday is more convenient than Sunday. But I mean, come on, I mean, just to have the opportunity of watching meaningful football in mid-January is enough, really.
Yeah, absolutely. John, thank you so much, man. It's good to see you. Enjoy. Well, just sit back, put your feet up, and take it easy at 6 o'clock. I think we'll see. All right, cheers. Now, Paul Dana says Jamar Chase is active, but I don't expect more than a couple of shots at the franchise record for receiving yards in a season. He's 12 shy, and potentially a few more taking aim at the all-time rookie receiving yards mark. He's 45 shy of that. Then take a seat on the bench. I mean, I can't keep up with all these records being broken. It really is truly extraordinary, isn't it? If he was to break the franchise record receiving, he'd break this man's record, who also happens to be turning 54 today.
The number 7 receiver of the 2000s, Chad Johnson.
I got a trivia question. How do you stop 85? How do you stop 85?
Love Chad Ochocinco. Chad Ochocinco, I believe, raced a horse and won at one point in his career. Remember that?
Chad Johnson, Ochocinco, was this larger-than-life superhero, Marvel, Avenger character.
I'm gonna give you your money's worth before I leave today. Well, you gonna kiss the baby today. Like I can catch that one sitting on the toilet.
Ochocinco, I don't care where you're from in the country. If you were changing the channels and the Bengals were playing, you go, oh no, I gotta see what's gonna happen here. If Chad was anywhere near the ball, I gotta see what's gonna happen.
Makes a move inside the 5. Touchdown, Ochocinco. And a little dance from Chad Johnson.
He's the kind of athlete that really pisses off my dad.
What y'all talking about? Y'all talking about me?
Because they didn't have guys like Chad Johnson in the 60s and 70s.
If I get in the end zone, make sure you keep the camera on me.
Yes, some of the celebrations got a little out of control, but I like that.
And now he's running the camera.
He looked at Keyshawn, his cousin, and was like, no, that's not enough.
Chad, get your ass in the huddle.
I gotta up this.
The golf putt, when he put on the Hall of Fame jacket.
I don't know what kind of celebration we have going on here, but this is a real choreographed deal with Chad.
All that crazy stuff he would do was so much fun to watch, and that's what makes football so much fun. Characters like Chad Ochocinco, you never know what they're going to do next.
There's 3 things in life that's certain. Death, taxes, and 85 gonna always be open.
Chad Johnson's talent is undeniable, but he gets stuck at number 7 because he's remembered more for his antics than for his ability.
People thought he was a freak show, so he doesn't get any respect. But as a receiver, I mean, you got to be kidding me.
What a play! How about those for some hands?
This guy was absolutely unstoppable.
You can always count on me. I'm like life insurance.
6 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He was a 6-time Pro Bowler.
Chad's out there. Got it! Throws long. Got Chad wide open. Touchdown, Chad Johnson!
This guy was maybe the greatest route runner of his generation. The most precise stuff works perfectly with Carson Palmer.
You go my way, because I'm going to be open. I got you.
Look at his numbers. He was a very effective wide receiver for a number of years. But he's known more for his Irish jig, his river dancing, He is actually catching touchdowns.
Please.
That's not fair. When on the field, he was it. There might be wide receivers who are as good as Chad Johnson. I don't know if there's anyone actually better.
I asked you a trivia question before the game started. I still need that answer.
Well, there we go. There's a bit of Chad for you. Just forget what a player he was. What a player he was. Goodness me.
Yeah, I slightly disagree with something they said there, that he's known more for his Irish jigs than catching touchdowns. I don't see that as true, to be honest with you. I think he's known as a really good player. Maybe won't ever make it into the Hall of Fame, but a guy who entertained. But it certainly wasn't without backup, you know.
Mm.
It wasn't like he did nothing but, you know, a lot of those antics, so-called antics, he did in catching touchdowns. So, you know,
I think that only says something about how the national media goes about covering the Bengals, because you know,
bit of a joke.
Again, that 05 offense was great. It was absolutely fantastic to watch. But you know, being good and winning games, they don't matter about that. Doesn't matter to ESPNs. You know, they just want to concentrate on these little things that don't really matter. Chad Johnson was absolutely incredible, as the VT said, one of the purest route runners in NFL history, and something kind of reminded me of him last week when Jamar Chase was so wide open on the 69-yard touchdown. That was Chad-like. That was kind of finding your space and sort of really just beating the defense by making them just not know where you are. And we could have a few more years out of Jamar like Chad gave us. I mean, he's going to break Chad's record today, probably. And he's probably going to break Randy Moss's rookie record. So, yeah.
I mean, that's
sometimes.
just extraordinary, isn't it? I thought, you know, with all his kind of drops and whatnot at the start of the season, I thought, you know, I said it on the podcast, you know, if we get something like 800 yards from him, that'll be a solid rookie season, something to really build on. But I mean, just like the team in the last couple of weeks, it's just gone balmy. It's just gone crackers, isn't it? It's just exploded. Incredible, absolutely incredible. I'm in shock. I'm in shock. No, I'm not in shock at this in the sense that they're winning games, because I think we all thought they might be a fun team to watch, and that kind of means a 9-10 win season. But I am shocked at the record-breaking Burrow and Chase, and Evan McPherson sadly could have broken the franchise record for points scored this week if he hadn't been. You know, it's just mad, absolutely. Well, what a time to be alive, gentlemen! What a time!
Absolutely.
We've got some comments. Stuart Rowe, don't know who he is. Hello, Bengals.
No, I don't know who he is.
Well done. The Packers will see you at the Super Bowl. It's a date, Stuart. You bring the wine, I'll bring the cheese. Matthew Morris, who day, you sexy mofos? Gibson Acoustic. KC did not look like a Super Bowl team yesterday versus Denver. That game was much more close than everyone anticipated. Mahomes threw quite a few dirt balls, and KC's D looked weak against the run. Some follow-up news to that. Vic Fangio has been officially fired from Denver. Poor old Vic. Good coach, but perhaps head coach was a little bit too... Don't know. You had issues with his fourth down call yesterday, didn't you, Jamie? Chance to win.
I think everyone did. He's no Zach Taylor, apparently. He, you know, you give the ball to that Chiefs offense with 4 minutes left on the clock and you're just going to lose. And that's what Taylor understood last week, and that's what Vic Fangio didn't understand this week. And I won't say it's what cost him his job. He's had, 5 years of not particularly great football in Denver, but it's just kind of one of those things. He is out of step with the modern NFL, and people are going to realise that kicking field goals when you're in position to make a touchdown, in position to score a touchdown, it's not good enough anymore.
No. And they've got things to build on, haven't they? Denver. I mean, they've got they've had a decent season. What is it, 8 and 9? They finish. A little bit inconsistent, but I think they need some. Anyway, this is not a Denver tailgate. Who cares? Graham Bates says, "Go Bengals, go Graham." Matthew Morris says, "I never saw Ocho in real time. It's such a shame. Question: does Jake Browning get a TD today?"
Not for me, Clive. I think Brandon Allen gets the whole game. So if Browning's out there, I think something bad's happened to Allen. So I don't want that happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Browning got a bit of action though. Wouldn't harm to throw him in the second half, see what he's about, see how he can handle Myles Garrett and co.
It's probably more likely if we're a long way up or a long way down. If it's close, I think they'll leave Allen in just to at least give some semblance that we're trying to win the game. But yeah, I mean, exactly like you say, Jamie, I think it's either injury or we're getting absolutely hammered. You might see him.
Yeah.
Might see him come in.
Ceiling Cat says Jamar is still gaining confidence. Year 2 will be even better. How about that? Goodness me. Wow. And again, Matthew Morris, Fangio to join Harbaugh at the Raiders. I would put money on it. Well, we've got Black Monday tomorrow. Who else is going to go? Mike Zimmer, do you think? Matt Rule? There's a bunch of guys that could lose their jobs tomorrow.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see either of those names go. Just have to. It's interesting when you're in a playoffs sort of bubble. You start to forget about the other teams, and you start to forget about who else is out there and who's kind of slightly underperforming. So yeah, I think Matt Rule's time's up. He's off to sort of do the job that he was born to do, which is be a Chris Moyles impersonator. And who is it? Zimmer. Yeah, I think Zimmer's gone. I'd love to see him back as a defensive coordinator. Maybe if we push the Lou Anarumo as a head coach elsewhere narrative, we could get Zimmer or Vic Fangio in as a DC.
That's interesting, though, isn't it? Because both our coordinators, both Brian Callahan and Lou Anarumo, their contracts are up, and I would imagine, like any playoff team, this is if people are wondering out there, people haven't experienced the playoffs, this is a byproduct of a team being in the playoffs. Whispers about your coordinators, teams wanting to tap up your coordinators. And Brian, of course, Brian's not a play calling coordinator, is he? He's there up in the booth. He's kind of, doing the coordinating without actually calling any plays. So I wonder if the next step for him would be a play calling offensive coordinator role somewhere. I'm sure someone will give him a call. And of course, Lou has come from nowhere really and had, let's give him his due. He's had a really good season. So I don't know whether that will be enough for people to pick up the phone. Do you expect them both to get some calls?
I think
they'll get some. Go on, Don.
Go on, Jamie. Yeah, go on.
All right. I don't expect them to probably get the jobs at this stage. I think there's other candidates that are more talked about and more kind of seen as those better options. I mean, obviously, everyone's talking about Jim Harbaugh coming back into the NFL, which, to be honest, after he's had a really good year at Michigan, I don't see the sense of him coming back. But obviously, it makes a good story, and he's one of those names that people will always talk about. Eric Bieniemy, Eric sleeping with the Bieniemy, as Moose would always say. He's been rumored to be going places for years upon years upon years. So it could be the year for him. Obviously, the Jaguars are being very kind of leaky about their coaching search. They're apparently down to Leftwich, Kellen Moore, who's the OC at Dallas, and Bill O'Brien, which will be hilarious.
Which was hilarious. What a strange idea that is. A very strange idea. But
Yeah,
it's all interesting. Well, Duncan, what did you want to say about that? Did you?
I was just going to say, I pretty much agree with what Jamie said, to be honest with you. I think they'll get interviews. Like some of the guys you mentioned there, Jamie had interviews a year or two ago, or have had interviews for the last couple of years. I think they'll get interviews. I'd be surprised if any team suddenly decided to make them the head coach. I think they're still probably a little bit lacking in experience. Lou, you could argue, has only really had one good year, although that being said, it's probably the year he's had the best tools to work with. But I don't know. I suppose from the Bengals' point of view, obviously you'd like to see him. I'd like to see him retained, but you've got to be a bit careful about how much you're going to pay them. I don't think they're irreplaceable, especially with Callahan, like you say, is not a play calling offensive coordinator, and Anarumo. You know, you do see people around the league, like if Zimmer got let go, obviously Fangio, who you would imagine with the same tools would be able to do a similar job, if not maybe even a bit better. So I'd be certainly up for keeping them on, but I wouldn't be signing them to ridiculous contracts where we're going to owe them money if we get rid of them eventually, or blah blah blah. You know, maybe a nice comfortable raise with a clause in there somewhere if they want to become a head coach. Then maybe we get some compensation somewhere along the line.
JV says, hello again from Ohio. Will you guys make it here for a game anytime soon? That will be cool to have some international fans here for a game next year. World Fan Day. Well, JV, I've personally been talking about it for the past couple of years, but obviously COVID has stepped in the way of that. And I always said that if we ever got to the Super Bowl again in my lifetime, I wouldn't try and get a ticket for the Super Bowl itself, as weird as that sounds. I'd rather spend it in Cincinnati with down at the Holy Grail, going nuts along the Bankses and doing that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm keeping an eye on things. I'm keeping an eye on situations, put it that way. We'll see what happens. Matthew Morris, O'Brien is the best option out of the three for the Jags. Not scared. Coordinators leaves. Not overly sure what Callaghan actually does, if I'm honest. See, Nathan said something like this on the podcast, and I think that's okay. He doesn't call plays, but from what I understand, he comes up with the game plans. He kind of works with the players. I think he's he's Zach's sort of right hand man, isn't he? So I think he is an important cog in the wheel there. But it is interesting, and certainly it's interesting in the playoffs. The difference in nature. I mean, you guys probably remember the mid 2010s. If there was a new fan out there, and do drop any answers that you have in the comments, guys. What's the main difference you feel in terms of, I don't know, atmosphere, feeling, all that kind of stuff, the lead up, everything. What's the difference between regular season stuff and the playoffs? To me, it's the obvious answer is that it's a knockout. We go into knockout football, and so there's extra, jeopardy there, isn't there, straight away? So instantly you're a little bit more anxious. I'm not making it sound very much fun, but it is fun. But what do you think? What's your kind of thoughts on the differences between playoff football for fans and regular season football?
Well, we're more likely to be on at a stupid hour in the day. So the first thing is you don't know when you're playing. It gets kind of sprung on you, and you have to kind of react to it. It's win or go home. It has this sense of sort of overwhelming importance. Everything seems to be ramped up about 30% more kind of traumatic. And it has been traumatic. I've still not seen Bengals playoff win in my time, and I've been a fan of the Bengals for a good long time now. It's the atmosphere is electric, and it all just seems a bit more kind of vivid and scarring and sort of intense.
Yeah, I know. I'd agree with that. Everything intense is the word, and like not just us as fans, but the play on the field is a lot hard. It just goes up a notch, doesn't it? The intensity, the tackling, the I don't know, just the feeling around the ground. I always forget that the game that shall not be named in early. Well, I think it was an adverse. In fact, Mike Smith has asked. Thanks for reminding us about this.
I'm not doing this.
It's the anniversary of that game. How has this organization changed since then? Well, it went backwards for a couple of years, really. And then Zach got hired, and it kind of went backwards even further. But I think we're obviously in a much better place. And I do not just on the field in terms of talent, because I think that squad needed to be overhauled after Marvin left. Speaking of the great man, did you guys see this? Two Bengals legends just shooting the you-know-what. That's Andrew Whitworth taking a visit from Marvin Lewis, just two old buddies chatting around in what looks like an enormous living room. It's good to see those guys still buddies, isn't it?
Yeah,
and they still seem quite, Witt seems still quite connected with the Bengals. You see a lot of players go elsewhere, and all they want to do is clap back and say about how they, the fans of this, or you probably know what I'm talking about. Whereas if they ever ask Witt about the Bengals, he's always complimentary. His missus always is often tweeting, and she'll tweet the Rams and the Bengals. She'll tag them both.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? That's really interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's obviously just the relationship they had with the place that they saw the writing was on the wall. Obviously, it wasn't something that a lot of the fans wanted, and what it was, as they say. But it didn't let them sour their relationship with Cincinnati and the Bengals, and I think that's a testament to the man and to his family, really.
No, I agree. Shawnee says it's going to be a bag of mixed feelings if they lose in the playoffs. What do you mean if?
I'll be devoed. This is the best. This is the best chance we've had in years. So I won't go so far as to say that I expect a playoff win this year, but I'd say that this is our best chance to get one. And we're going in relatively healthy. We're going in with weapons that terrify opponents, and as good as Andy Dalton was, and he was pretty good for us in his time. Joe Burrow is another level, and is that kind of talismanic leader figure that you get on these teams that go a long way into the playoffs. That someone described it on Twitter as being this kind of elegant rage when the Bengals get behind and Joe Burrow has to go and win the game. And he becomes sort of the stony face goes on. He's setting up traps for the wet bandits all over, and it just becomes Joe against the world, and he's out there throwing dimes and kind of shredding defenses. It's a thing of beauty, and I don't think you get that with Andy Dalton. I mean, I'm going back to the question earlier where you said what's the difference between this and those playoff teams of the 2010s. Part of it is that. Part of it is we have that superstar at quarterback now that maybe Andy wasn't ever going to be, and certainly BJ McCarron wasn't ever going to be. But we also have discipline, which is something those teams significantly lacked. And the reason why we lost to the Steelers was that the team completely lost its head. in the last 30 seconds. I said I wasn't going to discuss that game, but here we are.
You're right, though. It was discipline. You cannot see any of those players doing that. What Pac-Man and Vontaze did. You can't see that really. But shall we not talk about that, Gams? I can feel my scar opening as we speak. JV says there is a lot more at stake, not just a Super Bowl bid, but for some reason a team's legacy is tied directly to their playoff performance more than their regular season performance. Marvin Lewis was the only coach in team history besides Paul Brown with a winning record, yet he was considered a failure by many for never winning a playoff game. Don't get us started on that. I know me and Jamie share very similar feelings on Marvin Lewis's legacy. Matthew Morris, again, I think we have overachieved this year. Ross, I'm going to bring you in a minute. I think we have overachieved this year. So if we are one and done in the playoffs, oh well, proud of the boys. But I don't think we will be one and done. Bring them all on. Oh, yes, come on. I think you're right, Jamie. I think it's Burrow is the difference. We had, like you said, Dalton was an above average, good quarterback, but he's never that kind of guy that could carry a team on his back. Burrow will carry the team, the city, the state, the country on his back, the world on his back, and he will be fine with it. Duncan, what did you want to say? Sorry, mate.
I was just going to say, kind of going back to JV's first comment about the playoff performance. There's actually something I was meant to mention when John was talking about. I think Bengals fans almost have a double anxiety because we have an anxiety about getting to the playoffs, and then we immediately have an anxiety about the first game. Yeah. We have to win one game because we haven't done it for so long. So other teams who are regularly in the playoffs are like, well, if we go out first one, maybe we won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, or maybe we got to the Super Bowl last year. So if we go out first, it swings and roundabouts. For the Bengals, it's almost like this is almost our only almost the Super Bowl is more important than this game. Because this game is going to be the one where we can kill that narrative that people go on and on about how the Bengals can't win a playoff game.
Yeah.
So there's almost that extra level of anxiety, I think, within the fan base, because we've got through the anxiety of will we make it there. Now it's can we burst that bubble, that hoodoo of we haven't won a playoff game for what is it, 30 years?
Yeah, no, 30 years.
That's one.
No, I agree. I also think credit should go to people like Elizabeth Blackburn and Emily Parker off the field, because they've transformed the way the club is engaging with, and that's with the fan base, and that is something that didn't happen. Ross, I'm going to bring you in. Here he is. Ross, how you doing, mate?
How's it going?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Are you a happy bunny up there?
I mean, of course. Pretty much agreeing with everything that's said so far. Of course, as you said, I think we expected it to be a lot of fun. Still time left, of course. To be honest myself, at the start of the season, I would have took 7, as you said, Paul. 800 yards for Chase would have been perfect, but they get everything, the records, everything that's happened. Brilliant, of course. We're not done yet. I was pretty much going to be getting into just the stuff that you were just talking about there, about the playoffs in the past. And I don't want to jinx it, I'm trying not to, but you do have that sort of feel like there is something a wee bit different. I'm thinking back to, you guys have been Bengals fans for longer, but 10 years for me, so it never sort of felt like Andy Dalton was going to go to the next one, even the Steelers year, you still thought, okay, I don't know. They looked really good, and then Andy got hurt. But of course, as you said, the team just lost its head a wee bit. But I think it's totally different this time. A wee bit like what Duncan was saying. If we can get a playoff win, it seems a lot of people seem to be still sort of bringing that up, and rightly so, because we've not changed anything, have we? So. But fingers crossed. The last week I've been researching like mad who we could possibly get. I know there's a few obvious teams, but all the different situations.
It seems to me at the moment, Ross, it's going to either be the Patriots or the Colts. That seems to be
I'd pretty much think, to be honest with you, I've seen how many people are out today. Obviously, a bit of a game where, see some new faces, people resting, people on the COVID list. Obviously, numerous reasons. I could easily see it being the Patriots. Now, I know the Browns haven't got much the other way. When I was sitting waiting on to speak, I remembered the last time I came on before a game was before the Browns game, and I had stupidly said that we're going to win, and of course we got hammered. So I'll keep that in mind, and I'm not going to say anything, but as I think it's going to be the Patriots. I've just got a funny feeling. I've been thinking it all week. There's an easy situation for that game to happen. Of course, you've got the Colts. It's going to be one of them, but I've just got a sneaky feeling. And to be honest with you, I don't want to say it, but that might be a best chance, I think, to be honest with you. I've not seen a lot. I don't want to jinx it again, but I've been focusing on us mostly, more than anyone else. But we'll see what happens. But I've got a sneaky feeling.
Well, let's hope you're right, Ross. I'm kind of with you, really. I mean, all the fans out there, we know it, you know it. The media will just be banging on that 30-year narrative all week. So just get used to it or just turn off. And then hopefully we can put that to bed. Ross, mate, it's always a pleasure. Take care of yourself.
Boys.
Enjoy the game today, mate.
Cheers, Ross.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
He brings that out right at the last. What a cheeky monkey. Right, Ross, we'll see you soon, mate. Take care. Well, there we go. That was a lovely end to Ross's conversation. JB says, every time they make the playoffs, it's like I become that 10-year-old kid watching them play the Freezer Bowl. I measure all playoff games against that one. Given the remaining games, they will likely play the Colts. Andrew Dockerell says, announce Fangio.
I'm on board. I'm on board with this. Zach and Mike Brown are two very nice people, and Katie Blackburn is a very nice person, and they'll probably never do it. They don't want to shaft Lou Anarumo, but if Anarumo got poached by another team, I want to see what Vic Fangio can do with the talent that we have.
He's a great coach. He's a great coach, isn't he?
We're absolutely brimming with talent on that side of the ball, particularly. We've gone a year without having Joseph Asai in, and he looked like our best player in pre-season. So
absolutely.
That's something that he could come in and get us up to that next level. And I think when we talk about that next level, we're talking about being a team that is seen as, a favourite in the conference. Is seen as being kind of up there with, your Chiefs and, your Pats and your Bills.
Poor Lou. Anyway, we've been waffling on for a while. Here's Moz with some beer recommendations.
How you doing, Bengals fans? Moz here with 2 new beers to recommend. Kings of the North, eh? Still can't quite get over that last week. That was the best win of my Bengal fandom, for sure. What a game that was. It was amazing. They're the type of games I think we all crave and miss, to be honest. It was really important, but really fun. And this could be, us in Kansas could do this regular in the next few years. And I can't wait, really, because if it was anything like last week, it's going to be fun. Obviously, this week's going to be a bit different, and it's with all these COVID outbreak and people just not bothering, just keeping healthy and stuff, which I think's the right thing to do. But anyway, 2 beers to recommend. I'll best do this one first while I remember the name. It's from Azvex Brewery, quite a new brewery. It's a former brewery of Neon Raptor. They're based in Liverpool. And this beer is called Lava Lamp Encryption. It is a New England IPA type of stuff I like, and with this you can actually like pithy orange, peach, it's really smooth. It's quite green as well. What I mean by green, it's I'm trying to explain it really. you get a bit of hop burn as well. So from the hops and stuff, it's quite fresh, and the green is that type of flavour. It's that slight vegetal type vibe. But it's a cracking beer. Neon Raptors IPA still ringing a bit, and I think I see why now, because he's obviously gone off and doing his own thing. I can't remember the ABV. It's still quite easy to get at the minute. It's on most of the websites at the minute for a decent price as well. And the second beer, I actually had it last night for the first time in 6 years, and I kind of forgot how brilliant this beer was. It's Schneider Weiss Hoppenweiss. It's tap number 5, because they have all different numbers for different beers. And it's just I'd probably say that one of, if not the best wheat beer in the world. It's a bit different. It's a bit more hoppier than a traditional wheat beer. It's really quite a lime citrusy type vibe, with obviously the typical wheaty beer flavours you get, and you probably are known to. I had it last night, and it didn't last long. It's a world class wheat beer in my opinion, and you can get it pretty much anywhere really. They're the two beers I recommend. We're all going to have a great Sunday, no matter what the result is, because I don't think really any of us care, to be honest with you. It'd be nice to get a win, Nice see Brandon Allen get another win under his belt. And, always beating Browns is never not to be sniffed at, is it? But I'm not really that bothered. It's going to be party mood, I think. A few beers and just being excited for the weeks ahead, hopefully. I said weeks, remember? But anyway, have a great Sunday. Have plenty of good food and beer. Hooday.
Oh, hooday to Moz.
Hooday to you, Moz. Plenty of good food and beer for a Sunday. I think that's a recipe for success. Now, one other difference you can probably see is the excitement in the fan base. And one particular young gentleman called Devin Murdoch Thompson took the world by storm by doing this at last week's Tailgate.
I'll be outside. I'ma try this shit in Hattie. Dropping like some mother. I see you better put that to the side. Many times I survived. Beef is live. Spoiler alert. This dies. Keep blickies. And you know the weed sticky. My finger itchy. Glide like the lead hickeys. Your shoe is iffy. A street walker never dizzy. I go straight up out the six and we don't spare scissors. I fuck with her. I hit her herb, tell her through the herbs. Sure, voodoo curse. Got her while I flew the turds. Know the dogs, I didn't know what we knew at first.
There you go, young hip hop star in the making there, Devin, and hopefully Devin will be joining us next week on the show. And if anything, we've had a hip hop performer on before, and shout out to the Big Thundy. And if the culture clash was right there for everyone to see, but it was fun to have Thundy on, and hopefully we're going to get Devin on next week, so that'll be fun, won't it? But you see,
I want to see you and Devin have a rap battle.
Me, I can't rap for toffee. We've got some more fan stuff coming in as the game approaches. We're about 40 minutes away to kick off in Cleveland. There's our old pal, Big Jim.
Hey, get in the bin.
Get in the bin, Cleveland.
Not Jim, obviously.
No, obviously. Fan of the year. Fan of the year. Bengals fan of the year, Jim Foster.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
Yes, definitely. What else have we got here? We have also someone's taken, you've heard of Christmas decorations on a house. How about a Bengals decoration on that? Now, I could have put the video on because it's all flashing, all singing or dancing. But this family or this guy has completely transformed. I want to see where he's getting the projection from, where he's leaving the projector. But Yeah, there's all sorts going on in that house, isn't it? I mean, too much, do you think, or you'd be up for that?
I think if he turns it all off at 10 p.m. and leaves his neighbours in peace at night, then I'm fine with it. I think he had a similar setup for the Bearcats earlier on in the month. So when they were trying to get into the playoff, he had a Bearcat setup, and it was kind of a Christmassy Bearcat setup. That's just a very, very orange and black house. That
it is very much. We've got our own.
You got to get permission for that too. It's not something you can do.
No, and I would hate to see his electricity bills. But anyway, I'm being sensible middle-aged person here. There's CJ Rocket turning up to the Cleveland Browns Stadium. Just letting people know what the score on the doors are at the moment. That's always good to see. And no online tailgate would be complete without a bit of silliness in the food department.
Oh, here we go. Oh, I think I know what you're going for.
A word to the wise here. We will be featuring food a hell of a lot more in next week's show. All will be revealed on our social media channels next week. But if you fancy anyone out there who fancies broadcasting live from your kitchen when you're cooking something, do get in touch with us. We're looking for 3 people to cook. It's basically our annual chili cook-off that we had last year. It went down really well, and we're going to do it again. We thought, well, let's do it for the playoff game because it's a big fun thing, and cooking chili is a big fun thing as well. Anyway, this espresso martini Yorkshire Wensleydale.
Oh, I like espresso martinis. I don't like Wensleydale. So presumably that's going to be vile.
Yeah. Creamy Wensleydale with velvety coffee liqueur and a vodka kick. Is that what you look for in cheese? Duncan, your face says it all.
Not every flavour goes with another weird flavour, but some supermarkets think they do.
No, absolutely. And JV says, will Allen be throwing to the starting wide receivers? If so, perhaps he could put up 300 yards in a winning game. I'm very interested to see how he does that. I think that's the key thing today, isn't it? Just seeing how Brandon Allen does. I think, as you mentioned earlier, JV, Chase is playing, but probably for only about a quarter. Once he passes those records or breaks those records, you're looking at Auden Tate, perhaps. You're looking at the 2 Trents. You're looking at Mike Thomas, maybe. We'll have to wait and see. And this one, this is a hot dog with mac and cheese, bacon bits, and Fruit Loops sprinkled on top just because. What do you think?
I'd definitely give that a go. I've had a burger sandwiched in between 2 glazed donuts before, so I imagine that would be a sort of similar. And I've always liked that, the saltiness of bacon with something sweet. Like if I have pancakes, it's got to be bacon and egg, maple syrup, something like that. So,
yeah, but donuts are nice. Fruit Loops are awful. So I mean, this is just going to come out a bit of an abomination.
Yeah, I mean, obviously until you've actually tasted it, I don't know. But I like the salt and sweet combination. So if there's enough of the Fruit Loops, just give it a sweet, yeah.
Well, JV says that looks hideous. I think.
Yes, I agree.
Danny Hawkins, question for Jamie: Was last week's victory over KC what dragged you into Camp Zach, or what else was it?
Oh no, it absolutely was, and particularly his decisions on 4th down at the end, which were very kind of uncharacteristic of early career Zach. I always had him pinned down as someone that was quite conservative, quite kind of stuck in his ways. But this was him going out there and showing that he really understood what was going on in that game and what he needed to do to win. It was a brave decision, and an awful lot of people disagreed with him. Obviously, Tony Romo on the broadcast was kind of screaming kick the field goal, and I'm sure many people watching this stream would have been the same. But Zach's Zach's showing things to me that make me think that he sort of understands the gravitas of the situation that we're in, that he's now in a position where he's making decisions to win games rather than making decisions to kind of cause the least sort of ruction.
There we go. Just as we finish up, there's lots of fun games to come this week and build up to the playoffs. Throughout the week, we will be issuing a griddy challenge to everyone out there. Check our Facebook and Twitter Twitter account rather. We're going to be asking you to send in videos of you guys doing the griddy, I should say rather. We did it for the combine actually. We asked you to do some what would we ask them to do? Some 40-yard dashes. We asked you to do some cone things. So we thought we'd bring it back just for a bit of a laugh, bit of fun to get everyone engaged and excited for the game. So we're going to ask you to do the griddy and send in a video to either our Facebook account or post it or tag us rather on Twitter. We're also going to be having a watch party on Thursday. We're going to be watching a time TBC, but we're going to be watching the last time the Bengals won a playoff game, which was embarrassingly 30 years ago. It's against the Houston Oilers from January 1991. Some great players involved: James Brooks, Boomer Esiason, Anthony Munoz, David Fulcher. They're all there. Sam White was head coach. So that's this coming Thursday. As I say, next week we will have our tailgate, and hopefully we'll be having our chili cook-off live. We've got some live music planned. Hopefully Devin will be on, so it should be a packed show. And of course the podcast. So I get mixed up with all this kind of craziness going on. The podcast bit will be back tomorrow night with Nathan and I to discuss today's game. We have also we're very conscious of the fact that the Bengals are a very exciting team to watch, and we've already had a few messages from brand new Bengals fans that have started following the team this season, and we're hoping, it's our mission here at Bengals UK to grow and unite the fan base as best we can, and we're hoping that many more fans will come on board. So with that in mind, we have we're going to close out the show a little bit today with a new recruitment video. That doesn't sound too sinister, but it's just a little video.
We want you as new recruit.
We want as many fans to come on board and enjoy Bengaldom with us. So if you know anyone who's kind of just got into the NFL and looking for a team to support, or just kind of been quite taken with Burrow and Chase and Tiger Stripe helmets and fun team to watch, put them our way, and hopefully we can keep growing the fan base. Before we go, guys, let's have a prediction for today's game. Duncan, what are you saying?
I've gone for the Browns. I don't know why. I just think it's in Cleveland, gives them a bit of an edge with their fans behind them. We don't really need to win. So I think, don't get me wrong, if we had a fit team and we needed to win, I think we would. But I think maybe they'll just have the edge today. But of course, love to be wrong, and a 5-1 divisional record would be fantastic to you.
It would, and 11 win season as well. Wouldn't that be incredible? Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jamie,
Cleveland, I think, will win this, and I think it's purely because we're playing the reserves. The good backups. They're not players that are starting in the NFL for a reason. And if Cleveland are playing most of their starters, I think they've got the edge. So I went for 30-17 in the midweek predictions. I still think that's going to be the case. Obviously, we could get Lights Out Brandon tonight, which will be fun.
Well, if we get the same Brandon that played against the Texans last year, then who knows? Anything can happen, really. No, I'm with you guys. I think Cleveland probably got more better players, more first team players playing today than we have. So I think, I'm just going to watch it with my feet up and looking forward to seeing the likes of the Trents and Brandon Allen and your Deontay Smiths and, all those sort of guys. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. Bengals 19, Browns 10. JB says, I think it might be a low score actually with the amount of players out, but we'll see. Anyway, do bear in mind there's going to be a lot of Bengals UK activity this week in the lead up to the playoffs. I hope you're getting all excited. We'll see you next week at the Tailgate. The podcast will return tomorrow. Check out our social feeds for details of the watch party, the Gritty Challenge, and let's have some fun this week. So we will see you next week, guys. Who Day, thanks very much for joining.
Who Day.